Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into some really interesting questions about the Australian Taxation Office.
Yeah.
Our listener sent us this document, and wow,
Oh, yeah.
it's got some pretty out there stuff about the ATO's legal basis.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we're talking historical context, corporate structures, legal cases, just a whole bunch of things to unpack.
It's a lot to get through.
Yeah, it is. But that's what we do here, right?
Absolutely.
We break it all down so it's clear for everyone.
Exactly.
So think of this like your own personal deep dive on the ATO and how it all works.
Exactly. But we're going to find some really surprising stuff.
For sure. Definitely some, wait, really? Moments.
Yeah, for sure. Like this document goes straight into a theory about two different commonwealths of Australia.
Okay, two Australias. Now that's interesting.
Right.
Tell me more.
Yeah, lay it on us.
Okay, so they're saying there's the Commonwealth, the one with the lowercase c,
Right.
which started way back in 1900 with Queen Victoria's letters patent.
And these letters patent are like the official blueprints for Australia's government.
Right, they laid out all the groundwork.
Yeah, like who gets to appoint judges and officials, all the nitty-gritty details of setting up a country.
Okay, so that's the Australia we learned about in school. The Queen, the Parliament, all that. So what's this other Australia then?
Well, they claim there's this other Commonwealth of Australia, this time in all caps.
Okay.
And this one, they say it's a corporate entity.
Like a company.
Yeah, like a company. And they say it's actually registered on the U.S. Securities Exchange.
Whoa, hold on.
I know, right?
Are they saying our government's actually a company on the stock exchange?
That's what this document's suggesting.
That's a wild theory.
Yeah, it is, but they try to back it up.
How so?
Well, they point out all these little differences in names like the government of the Commonwealth of Australia versus the Australian government.
Huh. I guess I never noticed that.
And even stuff like the coat of arms.
The coat of arms.
Yeah, they say the traditional one's a lion and unicorn. But this corporate version uses a kangaroo and emu instead.
Okay, so we've got two Australias, one that we all know, and this other one that might be a company. But how does this all connect to the ATO?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
The document uses this whole two commonwealths idea to question whether the ATO is even legitimate.
Wait, so they're saying the ATO might not be legal?
They're asking if it's lawful under the original Commonwealth of Australia, the one from 1900.
Okay, so if this theory is true, and the real Australia is the one from back then, then maybe the ATO as we know it doesn't actually have the power we think it does.
Exactly. That's huge.
It is. It's like if the foundation's shaky, then what happens to everything built on top of it?
Right. It all falls apart.
And to make things even more interesting, they bring up this legal case, Mokliker versus Chapman from May 2000.
Okay.
And they claim that this case found the ATO wasn't a legal entity.
What do you? The ATO, not a legal entity.
That's what they say?
Never heard about that.
Most people haven't. So tell me, what's the big deal with this high court?
Well, the High Court is the top court in Australia.
The top dog.
Exactly. And their decisions are binding, which means all the other courts have to follow what they say.
Okay.
So if the High Court actually ruled against the ATO, that'd be a massive earthquake.
Yeah, wow, that'd change everything.
Totally.
All right, so we've got this two commonwealths idea, this potentially huge court case, and now the document goes even further and says that paying taxes is actually voluntary.
Yeah, well, it's not so straightforward.
How so?
I mean, the Income Tax Assessment Act, the law that covers all our taxes, it's pretty clear that paying taxes is compulsory. You know, most Aussies wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, true.
But this document, it seems to be saying there's another way to look at it.
Another way? What do you mean?
Well, they really dig into the details of the Tax Act and the Income Tax Assessment Act. They're pulling apart the definitions of words like income, individual, and even person.
Okay, so they're not saying we can just choose not to pay taxes, but maybe there's some wiggle room in how those laws are interpreted.
Exactly. They're suggesting that maybe the ATO's overstepping its boundaries, you know, based on how it's reading those tax laws.
So they're saying, hey, ATO, you might be playing a little fast and loose with the rules.
Something like that.
Okay, so we've got two Australias, a maybe shaky court case, and now a debate about whether taxes are really voluntary or not. Where do we go from here?
Well, buckle up because the document throws in another curveball, a doozy.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
They claim that the Australian Taxation Office, again with the all caps,
Right.
was actually listed as a partner in a business venture called Ultimate Holding for All Company.
Hold on.
And get this, the other partners in this venture, there's some seriously big players in the financial world.
Whoa, whoa. The ATO in business with, like, Wall Street giants.
That's what it sounds like.
Who are these partners?
We're talking names like the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, BlackRock Investment Management, Quantum Corporation, Merrill Lynch, even a couple of trusts thrown in for good measure.
Okay, this is getting a little conspiracy theory-ish.
I know, right?
What's the deal with this partnership? What do you think's going on?
Well, your guess is as good as mine at this point. We'd need
Right.
to dig a lot deeper to really understand what this partnership actually involves.
Right, it could be anything from asset management to, I don't know, tax collection contracts or something.
Exactly.
But the fact that the ATO is listed right alongside these financial powerhouses definitely raises some eyebrows.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's like finding out your accountant is running a casino on the side.
It's definitely not what you'd expect.
Okay, so things just got even more interesting. What else does this document have in store for us?
Yeah, it's wild how they connect all these different things like corporate structures and legal cases and even the definition of Australia, like geographically.
Right, like a legal thriller with a bit of finance thrown in.
Yeah.
But I still keep thinking about this whole voluntary taxation thing. It's a bit hard to grasp.
I think we got to remember that legally speaking, taxes in Australia are definitely mandatory.
Right.
It's not like we can just opt out.
Right.
But this document is raising some questions about how those laws are actually used.
So more like challenging the system than completely rejecting it.
Exactly. Like saying, hold on, let's take a closer look at these rules and make sure things are fair.
Okay, I get that. So how do they do that?
Well, they go right into specific terms in the Income Tax Assessment Act. Like, they ask, what is income exactly?
Yeah.
They're suggesting that if we rethink what income really means, then maybe what's taxable could change too.
Interesting, like redefining the whole game.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, but how does that work in reality?
Good question. So they focus on words like individual, person, company, entity, all these basic terms. And they keep asking if those words really represent the average person paying taxes, in the context of the law.
So they're looking for loopholes in the language itself.
Yeah, basically. They're trying to find inconsistencies or ambiguities that could change how taxes are applied.
Like a legal puzzle.
It is. And they even point to specific parts of the act.
Like what?
Well, like Section 4.1,
Okay.
it says income tax is payable by each individual and company.
Right.
But then they ask, are individual and person really the same thing? Do they include a real living man or woman?
Whoa, they're going deep.
Yeah, they're questioning the very words we use.
It's like they're saying, hold on, are we even speaking the same language here?
Exactly. And that's their point. They want to shake things up, challenge the assumptions about taxes. They ask if the act actually says, without a doubt, that a living man or woman has to pay taxes.
Like a philosophy of taxes, wow.
It is. And just when you think it's all about legal terms,
Yeah.
they bring up geography again.
Oh, right. That whole thing about how Australia is defined in the Act.
Yeah, they mentioned those external territories like Norfolk Island and Cocos Islands.
It's like they're saying, does Australia's tax system really reach that far?
Right. And then they go even further.
Right,
They ask if there's any part of the act that defines Australia as just the mainland and regular territories, the usual way we think about it.
I see.
They're suggesting that by including those faraway places, the act might be going beyond its boundaries.
So it's not just about paying taxes, but where those taxes apply.
Yeah, exactly. Like drawing a line and saying, ATO, you can't cross this.
That's a good analogy.
And speaking of boundaries, remember that weird question about currency? What specie the ATO will accept?
Oh, yeah, that was strange. It's like they were questioning if the Australian dollar is even legal.
Right. And that leads into some really deep stuff.
Like what?
They're asking if the Australian dollar is real lawful money or just a promise to pay, a note. They even talk about if using Australian dollars can actually settle a debt, extinguish it.
Are they saying our money isn't real?
Not exactly, but they're pointing out that if it's not truly lawful, then the ATO collecting taxes in that currency might be, well, not legal.
It all ties back to their argument about the ATO's power.
Exactly.
So we've got legal stuff, geography stuff, money stuff. They're really covering all the bases.
It's a big web they're weaving. But we got to remember the difference between legal arguments and actual facts.
Right. Questioning is one thing, proving it is another.
We got to be skeptical, not just believe everything we read.
Absolutely. Think for ourselves. So this document, it doesn't just ask questions.
Nope.
It demands answers too, right? Remember that long list of questions they had for the ATO?
Yeah, they're not holding back.
They want notarized proof,
Yeah.
official documents, the whole chain of command. It's like a full-on challenge.
It is. And that tone shows what this document's really about, the power dynamic between the individual and this big, powerful ATO.
David and Goliath.
Exactly. The little guy fighting the system.
And this document's giving them the tools to fight back.
For sure.
So what happens next? Do they
Yeah.
get their answers? Okay, listener, we're on the last leg of our journey through this document about the ATO.
Yeah, the final stretch.
We've been questioning all sorts of things, from the definition of Australia itself
Right.
to whether the Australian dollar's even legit.
Big questions.
So where does this document end up? What's the grand finale?
It comes full circle back to that core issue of the ATO and its relationship to the de jure government of the Commonwealth of Australia.
Right, that two Australias thing with the lowercase and uppercase Commonwealth.
Exactly. It keeps coming back to whether the ATO, as it exists now, actually gets its authority from the original Commonwealth of Australia, the one from 1900.
So, like, if it's not rooted in that original framework, then maybe it's not legitimate.
Yeah, that's their argument.
And to prove their point, they demand a whole bunch of evidence, right? Yeah.
They're not shy about it.
Notarized proof, official documents, the whole legal chain of command, like they're saying, show us how the ATO got its power.
Exactly.
What do you think, listener? Is that a fair ask?
It's a bold move, that's for sure.
But it goes even further than that.
How so?
It hints at potential criminal activity.
Oh, right, that question about impersonating a Commonwealth public official.
Yeah, that was a bit unnerving.
Definitely.
They're implying that if someone was acting as the Governor General without the proper authority, that could be treason.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's serious stuff.
It is, and it gets at the heart of what this document's concerned about, the possibility of abuse of power.
Right. Like, if the ATO is acting outside its limits, it might be part of a bigger problem.
Yeah, maybe a pattern of overreach or even criminal activity.
Okay, so we've got potential legal issues, transparency concerns, this whole two Australias mystery. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But remember, we're not just supposed to absorb all this passively.
Right. We got to think for ourselves.
Engage with these ideas, come to our own conclusions.
And speaking of questions, this document ends with one last thought-provoking one.
Which is?
Is a P.O. box a lawful contracting venue?
That's interesting. What do you think they're getting at?
Well, it makes you think about the practical side of things.
Right.
Like, if the ATO is this official, powerful entity, shouldn't it have a real physical address?
I see. A place where they can be held accountable.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a small detail, but it raises a big question.
Yeah, sometimes the little things reveal the bigger picture.
This whole deep dive's been about uncovering those hidden things,
Yeah.
the stuff we don't usually think about.
Right, the inner workings of the system.
We've gone from legal definitions to geography, questioned the ATO's authority, the Australian dollar, now even a P.O. box.
It's been quite a ride.
It has.
Huh?
Hopefully an eye-opening one,
I
too.
think so. Knowledge is power, as they say.
And the more we know about how things work, the better we can navigate them and make a difference.
Absolutely.
So listeners, stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop searching for the truth.
That's what it's all about.
That's the deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.